Welcome to With One Accord, a brief time presented by the Houston Chamber Choir each Monday and Friday to join us together despite this temporary isolation, to be renewed and refreshed through the power of choral music. I'm April Harris, Manager of Operations, and I'm thrilled to host today's Education Spotlight. Finesse. Not just a Bruno Mars song. This word indicates the distinct blending of professionalism with a love and passion for what you do. In choral performance, it's the ultimate demonstration of achievement that only comes from refinement of skill and dedication to your craft. I recently had the opportunity to chat with choral directors Christin Reinartz and Ruben Perez, two educators that teach the students of Katy ISD's Tompkins High School the importance of adopting these strong qualities. Christin and Ruben approach teaching with openness and positivity and fervently encourage their students to learn more, explore more, and continue to improve. The resulting choral excellence that comes from their young program is unrivaled. The performance artistry their students demonstrate is sophisticated and also influential, permeating through the boundaries of their choral rehearsals and instruction to influence the very culture of their entire school and community with the common bond of music. These wonderful role models are truly remarkable and deserve to be celebrated with a spotlight as bright as the future of choral music and education they are continuing. Representing Katy ISD, I'm joined today by Christin Reinartz and Ruben Perez, choral directors at Obra D. Tompkins High School. Thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
We're great. Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and get started with a chat about your backgrounds. Just want to know, when were you introduced to choral music, when you discovered that you were in love with choral music, and then when that kind of moved to a love of performance to a love of education?
Oh, that's
Christin, if you wouldn't mind starting.
Sure. So I was a little bit of an odd child, and maybe some other people can relate to me, but I was odd in that I kind of knew from the very beginning what I wanted to be at a very young age. So I think I was 7 years old. My mom likes to tell the story that they asked me what I wanted to be. And instead of saying astronaut or lawyer or whatever, I ended up saying I wanted to be a music teacher. And they thought that was very odd. And they said, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yeah, I want to be a music teacher." And I guess at that point, I was taking piano lessons and singing like in church choir as a little kid. So the figures that I saw, even at that very young age, were people that were influential and people that excited me. And so maybe that had a little bit of influence. I don't know. But so I had a little bit of a different path in that from the very beginning, I began that journey. And so, of course, I got into elementary school choir and junior high choir and then in high school. And I just had the privilege of being exposed to some really fantastic teachers that knew that that was the direction I wanted to go in, and definitely gave me more opportunities, I think, than had they not known that was the case. So that's kind of my story. I've always loved choral music. My parents like to tell another story about me, which is when I was a baby, I sang before I could speak actual words. So I know, weird. I was just a super weird child. But
that's talent. That's a natural attraction to the music. I love that.
I think that's where I'm getting at, that there was always this connection to music that was sort of ingrained inside me. So that's my story.
Wonderful. And Ruben, same questions for you.
Well, I kind of grew up in a home that was a very musical background. My dad was always playing the guitar and singing, and my mom was just playing the tambourine at the churches and whatnot. And so I always had that culture of music around. And being in an elementary choir, that just spurred. And I remember my first solo was called Rockin' Rudolph, and I had a blow up air guitar and sunglasses, and I thought I was Elvis Presley on the stage.
Awesome.
But just from there, and just like with all the teachers that I had in junior high and high school, they really nurtured that to help me grow and to become a stronger musician, but to also find that passion of choral singing. And it was really in high school where I decided, it was like, you know, I want to be an influence. And then I just kind of like turned around and I was like, well, I've been doing choir this whole entire time. Why can I not be my vehicle to influence other generations? So I decided to be a choir director through that thing.
Amazing. And Tompkins High School's choral program, it is fairly young, but the roster just grew exponentially. I remember from your bio, I believe you said it was from 50 to 200 in a matter of years, and that's unprecedented. It's amazing. Where along the recruitment and the team building did you realize that this is what's most successful, this type of method for just interacting with the kids, getting them interested in what you wanted to do with the choral program?
I love that question. I feel like as choir directors all across the state, we all have that vision, right, of what we want the program to be. And if we only could get kids in the door and be exposed to what we're doing, then we know that they'll stay and they'll love it and they'll find their family. But it really is about getting them in the door. So when I first started Tompkins, it was actually in my interview for the job. The principals asked me, what was I going to do to promote Tompkins High School and to promote unity within the school? And at that very time, I had a vision and what I wanted, and it included some school-wide things. So not things that just were for my students in my classroom, but things that were available to the entire school and the faculty. So those have been some of the directions we've gone in. And something as simple as hosting a school-wide talent show. You would not believe by a host, it's more work, obviously. It's an extracurricular thing other than what you do in the choral classroom, but you would just not believe the kinds of talent that's hidden inside your school and even hidden inside your own kids. Like our kids perform something that's not singing. We just had an act this past year of a girl who did aerial silks. And one year I had a kid do a magic trick show and it was legit, like it was really good. And we don't get to see those types of expressions from our kids unless we give them a platform. And so the talent show has been a really great way to find those diamonds in the rough and those kids in the school that haven't found a way to be connected to kids that are like them. And they don't even realize that choir kids are just like them. They love music, they love the arts, they love expressing themselves through that vehicle. And I've had, I mean, every year we get kids that join choir after being a part of our talent show. And after learning that the 4 boys that are in the alternative band that just played are also in choir. So they're like, oh, I'm a drummer too, and I love percussion, but that these people from all walks of life with all different types of interests have one thing in common, and it's music, and they're in choir together. So I hope that answers a little bit of what you're asking. We also do lots of things with teachers. We try to get the teachers involved. Even something as simple as doing short little interview clip videos for our holiday concert about things that they love about the holidays. So, and then also a faculty choir. We bring them in and we teach them a really fun holiday song. I've also had faculty historically come in and make a band together because we've got some very talented faculty members too. And so they see their algebra teacher up there playing the bass guitar, and they see their US AP history teacher playing the drums, and they're like, whoa. And I'm like, yes, adults can be cool too. So that music and the love of music never stops. And it doesn't matter, it's not exclusive to your high school or junior high or even your elementary school experience, that can extend further into your adulthood. So all of those things, it's really just about universal love for music and that how that can tie us together.
Right. And Ruben, you just ended your first year with Tompkins, or your second?
Yeah, I just ended my first year. That is correct.
Congratulations. Can you tell me some of the highlights of your first year experience?
Yeah, I mean, just from when I walked in through the doors of Tompkins High School, I just felt that place was very special. And after meeting Christin during the interview process, I just knew there was something special with this program, and I was very excited to join the team. And once I joined in and saw all the activities that she was having the students be involved in, it really spoke volumes of how much she cared about the students. Of, like she said, not only just for the choral program, but across the school. She's doing events like the taunt show. And I think my favorite act was the accordion player, because I had never seen a live performance of an accordion player. And that was really interesting to me. But I just love connecting with these students and having them be in a safe and inviting place every time they walk into my classroom. So I think some of the high points may be for our varsity guys being invited to the Sam Houston State Men's Festival that happened in the fall. That was something really special for those guys, and I could see how psyched up they were for that. And then at the very end, whenever the Sam Houston Men's Choir joined them among other invited men's choirs, and then they were all just singing in unison, it was just a massive sound, and the energy was so alive, and I'll never forget that moment as long as I live. That was a really awesome moment for our guys.
Outstanding. Now, Hear the Future is the Houston Chamber Choir's free community event that we provide an opportunity for local elementary school, junior high school, and high school students to display their talents and show their love for choral music and just vocal training. Now, it's been 2 years since Tompkins High School Choral took the stage. It was a little bit different for your year, as you had all 3 choirs were high school choirs. What was that experience like for your students, getting to see and hear their peers perform and also perform in front of their peers?
Right. We actually really loved the experience. It wasn't only just an opportunity to share music with others and express ourselves on the stage and work towards something, but also the ability to sit back as an audience member and hear choirs that, and the kids at this particular event happened to be the same age as ours from another program. And it's not often that they get to hear kids from another program. And we spent the next class period after coming back from that event talking about what we enjoyed most about each one of the groups and what they brought to the table, specifically what we could learn from them. And I think that's so crucial to our kids, like not only just hearing themselves and finding ways to improve and expand our talent and our experience, but also learning from others, and hearing that and seeing that makes the biggest difference in the world. So I think everybody was so unique and their programming was unique, and many of the songs were different than some of the things that our kids were have had exposure to at that point in time. So all of those things together, not to mention the Houston Chamber Choir as well, and seeing, you know, a professional choir up there sing with adult men and women singing with these amazing voices. And I think that in itself is also extremely inspiring for kids.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I thankfully had an opportunity to both see and hear your Hear the Future performance via archive footage. Amazing. I have no words really to describe other than just professionalism, but in the students, high school students, and the expressions on their faces, the movements, and just everything about their performance was so inviting, so energetic. I have to know what the rehearsals were like. Just how you plan for such an immersive choral, musical, choreographed experience like that. Yeah, I'd hear the future.
So I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think choir is one of those vehicles, platforms for kids to learn these kind of skills. Ruben and I have had lots of conversations about what our philosophies are, aside from just the choral techniques and music that we want to expose them to, and what we want them to know when they walk out the door. And much of that, in fact, probably more of that, includes the type of life skills and experience we want the kids to walk out with. So as silly as it sounds, walking on and off the stage, that's a skill that has to be rehearsed and taught and learned and experienced. And not everyone is comfortable with that. In fact, probably the majority of any person, kind of kids walking onto the stage for the first time, it can be kind of a frightening experience. So we always encourage them, and we say, these types of things you're doing in choir is going to help you in every aspect of your life. When you're going for your job interviews, when you have to stand and talk and present yourself in a professional manner, and what better way to do it than to do something that you love to do, right? So for the Hear the Future concert, it was actually quite a journey for us. And it was one of the stops along the way to learning some of the skills that you mentioned. And funny enough, I think it's important for me to mention this, we weren't good at it at first. And, you know,
that's really hard to believe.
And that's why I think this question and the response is actually really important, and great that we're talking about this, because it's not something that maybe a choir just has right out the gate, or even a person themselves has right out the gate. And so for us, we were really working towards a TMEA performance, and part of that's a visual aspect. We tell the kids all the time, it's one thing if we are just creating an album and people listen to it on their own time and they enjoy just an oral experience, but choir in itself is actually a physical experience, and a visual one at that. And so we have a responsibility as well to make sure that what we show matches what we feel on the inside and what we want to communicate. It's all part of it. And so we recorded lots of our performances, and we played it back, much like sports does with their rehearsals, with their practices and with their games. I swear to you, we had a playback gameplay, and we told them ahead of time. We said, hey, look, this is for us. And what better than for us to see ourselves and to be able to critique ourselves in a very positive, encouraging way, and maybe even a joking kind of way. We can laugh about, you know, the kid that had his hand in his pocket the whole time after we told him 14 times in class not to do that. You know what I mean? And so we recorded those along the way. We watched them. And then it wasn't something that we were just saying to them over and over again, but then they saw it themselves, and they can see the difference it makes when they learn to take what's in here and what's in here and put it on the exterior. So it was definitely a practiced thing, I'll tell you that.
Christin, in addition to your love of choral music, you also have a love of dance. And in your Hear the Future performances, it's very apparent in the posture, in the performance, in the overall presence of the students, that is instilled in them as well while they were preparing for this performance. Is choreography something you usually infuse in your choral performances, or is that something new that you wanted to try out for this particular event? Or was it a tribute to kind of to your two passions of choral music and dance?
I think it's a good mix, I would say. our kids that are in our program, doesn't matter what class they are in, at some point in time, they are exposed to doing choreography. We have our pop show at the end of the year. And I'll tell you, the kids there, most of them, probably 90 to 95% of them are non-dancers. They're just, you know, regular kids that come to school and love to sing. And we tell them, hey, we're going to dance. And they're like, excuse me, what? Have 2 left feet. And I'm like, no, we're going to use those 2 left feet and you're going to dance. And it's going to be great. And that's actually part of their growth process too, is to learn to double task and do something like singing and movement, right? And also to work towards a goal. So for many of them, the movement's a struggle bus for them, right? It's really difficult. They don't really know where their arms are and their feet are. We're very lucky to have a classroom that one side of the classroom is filled with mirrors. And so we get to utilize that in our rehearsals sometimes. And for the pop show, it's really great because we get rid of the risers once we learn the music. And really they're there in front of the mirrors and they themselves see every day what they look like and how they're presenting the movements and also the facial expressions and their posture and things that you're mentioning. And so at some point, like I said, they get exposed to movement. Some classes maybe more than others. And on our holiday concerts, we usually try to do something cutesy as well. Maybe not so cutesy for the guys' classes, cool. I don't know what you would call it, right? But cool, but like cute at the same time. And it's really great for the audience members. The audience members eat it up. And the faculty choir that I was talking about, they always have some sort of fun choreography along with what they're doing, again, to show their own teachers and that adults, you know, are doing the same thing. Mr. Perez and I, we jumped up there this year. Mr. Perez was a part of the faculty choir and Ruben. Oh, nice. Movements just the same. It's just showing them that, you know, we are all doing this and it's not exclusive to just being young or just being, well, we're still young, but, you know, a high school age kid, you know? So, yeah. And in terms of choreography, so those are the 2 times that happens typically within our program. The pop show is more extensive, more Broadway kind of musical style choreography and show choir choreography for their numbers. And the holiday concert's more choirography. And there may be some exceptions, but it's typically what it is. And for the Hear the Future concert, our song Bang Gong that we did by Ken Stephen had this very earthy, tribal kind of just ethnic quality to it that I felt needed something. And I think the movements helped with the visual aspect of it. And also it helped the students embody what they were feeling and to add accents and add a dynamic, you know, overall idea to what we were presenting. So that's kind of the journey with that. But yes, dance is very important to me and it's an active part of my life. And I know that maybe not all teachers have a dance background, but I do think that dance, movement and music are very closely related, much like music and theater and on the fine arts are just, and even art, all of those things are really closely related, and that we can find ways to express ourselves in those different forms together.
And I'm so happy you mentioned Bang Gong in particular, because I remember listening to that for the first time and feeling like I was in a rainforest, just experiencing the true culture and having an appreciation for nature, how musical nature can be, and how we're able to connect with our surroundings, with our culture, different people of different cultures, just through that music. And it was just such a wonderful experience to watch, to hear, of course, how they made all of those intricate sounds. It was absolutely spectacular. So in the time since your Hear the Future appearance, your choir has achieved amazing heights, amazing accomplishments. Just this year, several of your students earning the honor of All-State Choir title. Can you tell me a bit more about the accomplishments that you've had, and then also the impact of those accomplishments on your students on an individual and a group and community level?
Sure. So Tompkins is kind of a baby program. Our inaugural year was 2013 and 14, starting with just under 50 kids. And through some of the recruitment tools we talked about and really trying to expand our choir family, we really left a lot of that up to the kids too, to recruit for each other, because many of the great ways to recruit are kids recruiting kids. Like, that's more important than really us maybe getting out there and kids talking about their own experience. So I believe that had a hand in us kind of growing and getting to the point where we had a viable group to really get out there. And I'm a firm believer that men make your program. I really do believe that once you can build your men up within your program, that it opens the doors to a lot more things. And so I think starting out, we really had a priority to really cater to the guys in the program and let them know that choir was a thing that guys could do as well, and do it well. And so that kind of leading us into a couple of really successful performances that happened, even just at UIL, to be honest. There were some people that heard some of our UIL performances just by happenstance, and from there invited us to some invitationals. So we've done the University of Houston Invitational, the Houston Chamber Choir Invitational, the Sam Houston State University that Ruben mentioned earlier. And all three of those types of performances are huge in that it's something great that the kids work towards and build up to. Many of them don't even know what it is, to be honest. And we try to tell them what a great experience this is and what an amazing opportunity. And wow, we're so lucky and honored to do this. But they really don't know until they're there and they see it for themselves. And then it's like, wow, now I understand what all the hard work was about. And also why the work was important, right? So I guess that to answer part of your question, after doing those types of performances, I think it really has a hand in children seeing and students seeing where hard work can get you, where setting goals can get you, and that it can be a fruitful experience for yourself, but also for others, a part of your team, right? But also the audience members that you're sharing it with, all of those things. I think our biggest, I guess, accolade, you can say, high point for us was our TMEA performance and earning that honor for our mixed choir. And Bang Gong was one of the songs we sang on that program. And actually the Hear the Future concert was songs that we sang on our TMEA concert as well. And that's also important to mention because sometimes it can be a really great thing for choir directors to have multiple opportunities for kids to perform. And sometimes it can be a very scary thing when they're doing the same repertoire, and something that we kind of fear. We don't want them to peak too soon. We want them to still have a love for the music. We want them to, you know what I'm saying? We need to find new ways to freshen their perspectives on the repertoire that we're doing. So I think actually that journey for us with these different kinds of, I guess you can call them award performances, and accolades that they work towards, it was really important for them because the work's not done. And that's one of the things we say all the time in our choir programs, even after the concert, or even during the concert, the work is never done. And never is a piece of music finished or in its perfect entity or embodiment, because music is ever changing. We all know that, especially choir directors, we know that. And every time you do a performance of a song, it's different and it's unique in its own way. So the multiple performances, the takeaway from that, the kids got to see and really push themselves. How can we make ourselves better? How can we become better musicians after this experience? And what else can we figure out about this piece of music that we didn't know before? What else can we discover? And then past the discovery, how are we going to share it? So I hope that answers your question just about the different accolades for us and how it really, affects our kids. And it affects us too. It pushes us, it makes us better teachers.
Ruben, same question. What do you think is the most impactful thing about accomplishments such as TMEA and invitationals?
Well, I think kind of like what Christian was touching up on is that it not only pushes us to become better teachers, but I think the students also feel that sense of ownership of them wanting to achieve, whatever they set their minds to. I know for the students who made the All-State Choir this year from Tompkins, I would see those students in the practice rooms almost daily after school or in voice lessons, working on certain passages of music. So I think they understand what hard work means and what it takes to achieve those high accolades and those recognitions. And so I'm just so thankful that these students are, what we go back to, are gaining these life skills and knowing what hard work is, and that if you set your mind to it, that there's nothing that can really steer you away if you keep your eyes on the goal that you want. And I'm so thankful to be part of this program that not only we are pushed to become better teachers, but also our students are becoming better people in the society.
Right. It's such an important focus to have, and definitely appreciate having educators like you that just push those types of good qualities into the students and make them really beautiful, well-rounded individuals when they grow up and go out into the world. And I have one final question. There are a lot of uncertainties as far as what's coming for the next school year, what that will look like exactly. And I know it's very difficult to prepare in circumstances like this. However, I know above all that you want to maintain your relationship and your connection with your students, with each other, and also have them have their connection with each other, the choir. What are some of the tools that you found most effective in helping you to achieve that connection, both with you two and the choir, as well as connection within the choir among their peers?
Right. So COVID hit and everything just, went into haywire. And I know everyone that's listening to this here can relate to what Ruben and I are expressing. And no one had expected something like this to happen. And then immediately we had to step up and we had to adjust and we had to figure out a way to not lose our kids and to keep them positive and keep them engaged, not only in their curriculum, which obviously is important, in their academics and in the fine arts, but also their mental well-being and emotional well-being and how important that was. So Ruben and I had many conversations of how are we going to keep our kids connected and what are we going to do about so-and-so and so-and-so where we're not seeing that activity that we usually see in the classroom. I think it was a very difficult situation to be in, very difficult to be thrown in and have to immediately take action on. One of the really cool tools that we've found, I know lots of teachers may have already used this platform before, but it's called Flipgrid. And I loved Flipgrid. It's really something that the kids attach to really easily and well because it's sort of formatted the same as many of their social media forums and things that they use on a daily basis. So honestly, they were much better at it at the get-go than maybe Ruben and I. And so they had kind of the advantage in that way, but that's good. It's something that they could relate to in that way. So on Flipgrid, we could post videos, instructional clips, and pose a topic for them to then respond to and discuss. And Ruben and I took this opportunity to discuss things, maybe not always related to the curriculum and music, but let's talk about something else. Let's talk about what we're struggling with. And I think one of our first Flipgrids that we did, topics, was what are you struggling with COVID, you know, with the COVID quarantine situation. And Ruben and I first, we said what we were struggling with, and we showed that. And the kids got to watch our videos. And then they then posted their own videos. And it was a way for them to feel like they could voice things. And yes, staying positive and encouraging was really important, but we were also struggling. And we were also feeling the pain for our seniors and missing what we had and that we didn't expect to not have anymore. So there was a little bit of sense of loss that people weren't talking about. And we were all doing the whole, let's see how we can encourage them. But also, I think what's important is let us talk about what we're struggling with. Then we can see how we can move forward in a positive light. And so Flipgrid was a wonderful way. The kids got to watch each one of their videos. They got to like and comment on the other videos. They got to do video responses to each other and provide encouragement for each other, or even just to relate and say, girl, I'm experiencing the same thing, you know?
Right.
It was a wonderful platform for that. And I said this, I don't know how many times to Ruben. I was like, you know, this is one great thing that has come out of this situation for us, is now we can use this tool in our choral classroom forever, for, you know, as long as it's available to us, and figure out ways to do fun things through Flipgrid. So moving forward, I know many school districts are handling things differently, and even from state to state, it might be different. I know for us, it's going to be a mix of in-person, at this point, in-person instruction and a virtual kind of academy for the rest of our kids. So as soon as we found that out, Ruben and I spent like the entire day planning and figuring out what are we going to do. And it was important for us as a priority to address the mental and emotional well-being of our kids, and finding ways for the virtual academy kids to still be connected and unified with our in-person class kids. So we, moving forward, are definitely going to utilize Flipgrid so that they can see each other, and they can see and still feel, no matter what way they are going to continue their music education in the coming year, that they're still one, and we are still connected through music. And so that's the plan, amongst other things. I think also something really important for us educators to really think about is how maybe a separated kind of thing can affect music literacy, and also some of the other skills that we are accustomed to teaching in the classroom, which is those ensemble building skills. So Ruben and I have talked about also, how are we going to teach kids to, you know, blend with each other, to work with other kids that have different personalities and different ways of processing things, and accepting, and how are we going to build that leadership, you know, all of those things that would happen if they were all in the classroom together. But now that it may not be that case for an undetermined amount of time, let's brainstorm on ways to facilitate that. So we're definitely focusing on ways to build ensemble skills, even though it's kind of unconventional right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's I've done a few interviews now, but I think something that's shared is just the music has to continue. We have to keep connecting and learning more and teaching, and just being there for each other. So it's really comforting to hear you say that. Ruben, do you have any other comments to make as far as what you're looking forward to tackling for the next school year, or any of the things that you've already done that you're looking forward to finding out how to approach them for the next school year?
I think I'm looking forward to connecting to more kids. I'm just really excited for the incoming freshmen. I know it's kind of a weird year for them, but I'm still going to try my best to put up my best for them, to get them engaged, to get them to continue to have a passion for singing, and to build that community with each other. And just like what Christin said, Flipgrid is going to be one of our resources to kind of do that, so that way students can see where other students are at as far as like their where they're at as far as like what they're still struggling with, where they're at during this time. But also, you know, we can have kids share their singing and like have them not be in a spotlight in a classroom, but that, you know, there's a little bit of a confidence boost that I was like, okay, I can record myself, I'm gonna put myself out there. And so I think we're gonna use that platform to really encourage students and tell them, hey, awesome singing on this new song that you just wrote, or whatever the case may be. I just wanna continue connecting with these kids, because I think that's what's really important right now, is connecting with them, and our vehicle is gonna be music.
Yeah. Another thing that we mentioned in Ruben and I's ultimate brainstorm together is we were going to sort of take advantage of this situation to something that could benefit all the kids and the program itself. And one of that is being technology. And we always struggle, how do we implement more technology into the classroom? And I know it's, for many situations, it's something that's really expected of us, and something that administration and other levels are really pushing for us to incorporate in the classrooms. So we're going to use this to our advantage, and we've decided that we're going to try to do a couple pre-recorded lessons on things that are relevant to all the classes. Let's say a brush up on music theory, or a rhythm lesson, or things like that. And, you know, short little video lessons that we'll do that both our virtual students will watch as a part of their curriculum, but we're also going to air it in the classroom too. That way that there's a little bit more of a unity in what we're teaching our kids, and that they're seeing, and they're being connected in that sort of way. And that, you know, why not? We're using technology. Let's let the kids that see us in person also get, you know, some of that time through a virtual sort of experience. And so that's something else that we're doing. Just further brainstorming ways to take that to our advantage as choir directors is being able to connect then with your junior high programs and your feeder programs, and some really great vertical alignment that way. I think it may have been last year, Christin Lycos over at Seven Lakes Junior High, she was one of our feeders, and she and Jen Hart at the time asked for me to do some video critiques on some of the pieces of music that one of their classes was doing. And so I listened to the music in my own time, and then I did a video critique, and they played it in their classroom, and it was just like I was there. So I was speaking to them as if I was in the classroom. I even like modeled for them and like say, okay, now you try it. And it felt really silly because I know that they weren't actually with me. And I even commented on that and was real about it. I was like, you know, I hope you're singing. And I do this by myself, you know, but you know, it was real and it was great. And one benefit of it was now the junior high kids got to see the high school directors, and that they're showing, we are showing not only a different perspective on their music, and maybe even just reinforcing the same things that their junior high director's been telling them, you know, but in some different words. But also that music continues on, and that we are still connected, and we want the ability to work with them and to bring them to another level once they make it through high school. And so let's use this time. I guess it's a moment of encouragement and empowerment for all of us teachers, Ruben and I included. Through this time of struggle and uncertainty, and maybe feeling a little uncomfortable in things that are not in our normal wheelhouse, let's use this to our advantage. Let's try and find ways to incorporate some of the things that we're doing to benefit all of our students, and even our future students.
Absolutely amazing, beautiful, wonderful, all the above. Christin and Ruben, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me, to discuss yourselves, your choir, the things you're looking forward to, and all of the wonderful things about choral music. I'm really appreciative of this time.
Thank you so much. This is just as enriching for us as it is for you guys. So thank you for the opportunity. We are very, very honored to be here today to share with you.
Yeah, it was great to be with you, April.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Special thanks to the Mayor's Office of Cultural Affairs and Houston Arts Alliance for their consistent support. To our phenomenal guests, Christin, Ruben, and the wonderful students in Tompkins High School's choirs. And to you, our listeners, for tuning in. And now, please enjoy Canticum Novum, composed by Ivo Antonini and performed by the talented Tompkins High School Choral.
Canticum novum, canticum novum, canticum novum, cantate Domino, canticum novum, 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 cantate Domino. Omnis terra, omnis terra, omnis terra, cantate Domino, cantate Domino, cantate benedicite, cantate benedicite nomini eius, cantate Domino, benedicite nomini eius, et benedicite, benedicite nomini eius. Cantate Domino, te die in die, cantate Domino, cantate Domino, salus adeus, cantate Domino, Domino, canticum novum, 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 cantate Domino, canticum novum, 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 cantate Domino. Omnis terra, omnis terra, omnis terra, cantate, 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 Domino, 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 canticum novum.
Houston Chamber Choirs with One Accord is your one-stop shop to choral joy. Help us to continue our mission to grow the esteem and appreciation of choral music by sharing, reviewing, and subscribing to our content. Visit us at houstonchamberchoir.org.